Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of the Ebony Starship, staring at the massive alien structure floating in space ahead of them. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. Its dark metal surface gleamed under the light of distant stars. Strange symbols glowed along its sides like writing he had never seen before. "How big is that thing?" asked Park Mira, the chief engineer. She wiped grease from her hands with a cloth as she joined the captain at the main viewing screen. "Sensors show it is 20 kilometers long," replied Kim Ji-won from her science station. "The energy readings are incredible. This technology is far beyond anything we have on Earth." Daeho felt his heart beating faster. This was it. After months of traveling through deep space, they had finally found proof that humans were not alone in the universe. The Ebony was Earth's first deep space exploration ship, and they were about to make first contact with an alien civilization. "Sir," called Kang Bora from the communications desk, "I am receiving a signal. It is not in any language I know, but the computer is working to translate it." "Put it through," Daeho ordered. The bridge filled with strange sounds that reminded Daeho of music mixed with static. After a few moments, the ship's computer began to speak in a cold, mechanical voice. "Unknown vessel. You will identify yourselves immediately. You will submit to inspection. You will comply with classification. Protocol 77 Alpha." The crew looked at each other with worried faces. This did not sound like a friendly greeting. "Open a channel," Daeho said to Bora. He straightened his uniform and cleared his throat. "This is Captain Lee Daeho of the Earth vessel Ebony. We come in peace and wish to establish friendly relations." There was a long silence. Then the voice came back, sounding even colder than before. "Earth is not in our records. You claim to represent a species not catalogued by the Valthian Empire. This is impossible. All intelligent species in this sector have been documented for 3,000 years. "Well," Mira whispered, "I guess we are about to change that." Dr. Yoon Nari, the ship's medical officer, stepped onto the bridge. "Captain, should I prepare the medical bay? We don't know what these aliens might be like." "Good thinking, Doctor," Daeho replied. Then he spoke louder to address the alien station. "We are indeed a new species to you. We would be happy to share information about ourselves and our home planet." "Negative," the alien voice replied quickly. "New species cannot exist. You are either criminals using false identification, or you are suffering from memory corruption. Prepare to be boarded for correction and reclassification." Choi Hyun, the security chief, stepped forward. "Captain, their weapon systems just activated. They have enough firepower to destroy us easily." Daeho felt sweat on his forehead, but he kept his voice calm. "We will not submit to boarding. We are peaceful explorers, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." "Your response is not in the approved first contact protocols," the alien voice said. "You should either submit immediately or attempt to flee. Your behavior is unexpected." Or, the main screen. They watched as several smaller ships launched from the huge station. The alien vessels moved in perfect formation like a military parade. "Those ships are beautiful," Kim Ji-won said softly. "Look how precisely they fly. Their society must be very organized." "Too organized, maybe," Mira muttered. She looked at her engineering displays. "Captain, I have an idea, but it is a bit crazy." "I am listening." "Their ships are flying in exact patterns. What if we do something they don't expect? Something that breaks their neat formation?" Daeho thought for a moment. "What do you have in mind?" Before Mira could answer, one of the alien ships came too close to the Ebony. There was a grinding sound as the two vessels scraped against each other. Warning lights flashed on both ships. "Hull breach on Deck 7, reported Hyun. "Small damage, but we are venting atmosphere." On the communication channel, they could hear confused voices speaking in the alien language. The perfect formation of ships scattered as the damaged alien vessel drifted out of control. "They don't know how to handle unexpected problems," Ji-won observed. "Their whole system depends on everything going according to plan." Mira grinned. "Captain, give me permission to help them fix their ship. I think I can repair both vessels at the same time. That is against all our safety protocols, Dr. Nari pointed out, which is exactly why it might work, Deho decided. Do it, Mira. The engineer grabbed her tools and headed for the airlock. Soon she was floating in space between the two damaged ships, using her repair equipment to fix both the Ebony and the alien vessel at the same time. The alien voices on the communication channel grew more confused and excited. Through the translator, they could hear words like impossible and not in the manuals. After an hour of work, both ships were repaired. Mira returned to the Ebony, and the alien vessel rejoined its formation. Unknown humans, the alien voice said, and this time it sounded different, less cold and more curious. We are Velthians. Your engineer's actions are not logical. Why did you repair our ship when we were preparing to capture you? Because that's what you do when someone needs help, Deho replied simply. We believe that all intelligent life is valuable. This concept is not in our databases, the Velthian voice admitted. We must study this further. Your species shows behavioral patterns we have never encountered. Kim Ji-won stepped forward. We would love to learn about your civilization too. We are explorers and scientists. Meeting you is the most exciting thing that has ever happened to us. There was another long silence from the alien station. Excitement about meeting strangers is also not in our protocols, the Velthian finally said. Most species either fear us or try to fight us. You do neither. You help us and want to be friends. We do not understand this. Maybe that is something we can figure out together, suggested Dr. Nari. Suddenly, alarms began beeping on both ships. Bora looked at her instruments with wide eyes. Captain, there is a massive solar flare coming from the nearby star. The radiation will fry both our ships in 10 minutes. The Velthian voice became urgent. All vessels will return to station immediately. We will activate emergency protocols and seal the station. Wait, Mira called out. What if we work together? Your station has powerful shields, but they can't extend far enough to cover your small ships. Our ship has mobile shield generators that are weaker, but more flexible. That is not in our emergency procedures, the Velthian replied. Forget your procedures for once, Deho said firmly. Let us help you save your people. For a moment that felt like forever, there was silence. Then the Velthian spoke again. Explain your plan quickly. Working together, the humans and Velthians created a shield network that protected all the ships. The Ebony's flexible shields filled the gaps in the station's defense grid. Mira coordinated the technical details while Hyun handled the tactical positioning. When the solar flare hit, their combined shields held. Every ship in the great station survived. Remarkable, the Velthian voice said after the danger passed. Your species works together in ways we have never seen. You take risks to help others, even strangers who were threatening you minutes before. That is just who we are, Deho replied. We understand now why you are not in our databases, the Velthian said. You are something new in the galaxy, something we did not think possible. The great station opened its docking bays to welcome the human ship. Come aboard, humans of Earth, the Velthian voice said, and now it sounded almost warm. We have much to learn from each other. Your ship will always have safe passage through Velthian space. As the Ebony moved toward the alien station, Deho smiled at his crew. They had done it. Humanity had made its first alien friends among the stars. Captain Lee Deho stared at the sad sight before him. 3 planets hung in space like dying flowers. Their once green surfaces were now brown and gray. Dead rivers carved empty paths across barren continents. The worlds looked like they were slowly bleeding to death. The air readings are terrible, Kim Ji-won reported from her science station. These planets are dying, plants are gone, animals are disappearing, and the soil itself is turning to dust. Are there still people living there? Asked Dr. Yoon Nari, her voice full of worry. Yes, but not many, Ji-won replied. The population has dropped by 90% in the last 100 years. At this rate, they will be extinct in 50 more years. The Ebony received a message from the largest planet. The voice that came through the speaker was deep and tired, like someone who had given up hope. Alien ship, this is Commander Vex of the Corvani people. Turn away from our worlds. There is nothing here for you but death and sorrow. We have no wealth to steal and no strength left to fight. Park Mira looked at the captain with sad eyes. They think we came here to hurt them. Deho pressed the communication button. Commander Vex, this is Captain Deho of the Earth ship Ebony. We are not here to take anything from you. We are explorers who came to meet new friends. A bitter laugh came through the speaker. Friends? No one wants to be friends with the dead. My people are the last generation of Corvani. When we die, our species dies with us. Save yourselves the trouble of knowing us. Dr. Nari stepped forward. Captain, I want to go down there. If their people are sick, maybe I can help them. Choi Hyun shook his head. Doctor, we don't know anything about their biology. You could make things worse, or they could make you sick too. That's a risk I'm willing to take, Nari said firmly. I became a doctor to help people, not to watch them die from far away. Commander Vex's voice came back, sounding surprised. You want to help us? Why would you waste your resources on a dying race? We have nothing to give you in return. We don't need anything in return, Deho replied. Helping others is just what we do. Several hours later, Dr. Nari was walking through a Corvani city with her medical equipment. The aliens were tall and strong-looking, with dark gray skin and bright yellow eyes. But they moved slowly, like they were carrying invisible weights on their shoulders. The Corvani were confused by her kindness. They could not understand why a stranger would use her own medicine to heal their sick children. They watched in amazement as she worked day and night without asking for payment. Your doctor puzzles us, Commander Vex told Captain Deho. She treats our dying as if they might live. She gives hope to people who should accept their fate. Maybe that's the problem, Hyun suggested. He had been training with Corvani warriors and learning their ways. These people are fighters, but they've stopped fighting for their own lives. Down on the planet's surface, Park Mira and Kim Ji-won were studying the environmental damage. What they found made them both angry and excited. Captain, Mira's voice crackled over the radio. You need to see this. The damage to these worlds isn't natural. What do you mean? Deho asked. There are machines buried deep underground, Ji-won explained. Ancient terraforming equipment that was supposed to make these planets better for life. But something went wrong with the programming centuries ago. The machines have been slowly poisoning the soil and air, Mira continued. The Corvani never knew because the damage happened so slowly. They thought it was just their destiny. Commander Vex overheard the conversation. You are saying our world's death is not the will of fate? Your world is being murdered by broken machines, Ji-won replied. Machines that can be fixed. Impossible, Vex said, but his voice had changed. For the first time there was a tiny bit of hope in it. Dr. Nari looked up from treating a sick Corvani child. If the machines can be fixed, then your people don't have to die. Your children can have a future. The idea that their fate could be changed was hard for the Corvani to accept. They had lived with the certainty of extinction for so long that hope felt dangerous. Even if you are right, Vex said slowly. The machines are buried in the deep places. The tunnels are full of poison gas and cave-ins. Many would die trying to reach them. Then we go together, Hyun said simply. Humans and Corvani working as a team. We have protective suits for the poison gas, and you know the deep paths. Why would you risk your lives for our world? Asked an old Corvani female. If you die here, your own families will never see you again. Because your lives matter too, Dr. Nari replied. Every life in the universe is precious. The mission to the deep places was dangerous. Mira led a team of human engineers while Vex guided Corvani warriors through the ancient tunnel systems. The air was thick with toxic gases, and the old passages were ready to collapse at any moment. They found the terraforming machines in a vast underground chamber. The devices were huge and covered with the dust of centuries. Warning lights blinked red, showing that something had gone terribly wrong long ago. The main control system is corrupted, Mira announced after studying the machines. It's been giving the wrong commands for hundreds of years. Can you fix it? Vex asked. Not alone, Mira admitted. I need someone who understands how these tunnels connect to the surface. The repair has to be done in the right order or the whole system will explode. Working together, humans and Corvani spent days repairing the ancient machines. Mira handled the technical work while Vex and his people guided them through the complex underground network. Finally, Kim Ji-won's voice echoed through the tunnels. All systems show green. The machines are working properly now. They climbed back to the surface to find the first signs of change. The poisonous fog that had covered the cities for decades was starting to clear. Plants that had been dying for generations began to show new green leaves. Our world will live, Vex said, and tears ran down his gray cheeks. Our children will have children of their own. Dr. Nari smiled as she watched Corvani youngsters playing in cleaner air. Your people just needed to remember that giving up is not the same as being brave. You have taught us that fate is something to be fought, not accepted, Vex told Captain Deho. The Corvani will not forget this lesson. We request that some of our people be allowed to travel with your ship. To learn more about the galaxy? Daiho asked. To learn more about hope, Vex replied. As the Ebony prepared to leave the healing worlds, several young Corvani came aboard as the first alien crew members. They wanted to carry the human message to other species, that no problem is too big to solve when people work together. The captain watched the 3 planets growing smaller in the viewing screen. They were still brown and damaged, but now there were small patches of green that grew bigger each day. Where to next, Captain? Asked Kang Bora. Wherever the galaxy needs us most, Deho replied, knowing that their crew was now stronger and their mission more important than ever before. The space station was the most beautiful thing Captain Lee Deho had ever seen. It stretched across the star system like a crystal flower, with thousands of transparent chambers connected by glowing bridges. Each chamber held books, data crystals, and memory banks from across the galaxy. How old is that thing? Asked Park Mira, staring at the massive structure through the viewing screen. The sensors say it has been here for over 10,000 years, Kim Ji-won replied. And it keeps growing. New sections are being added all the time. This is the Infinite Library, announced Vex, the young Corvani warrior who had joined their crew. My people have stories about this place. They say it holds all the knowledge that has ever existed. A calm voice filled the bridge through the communication system. Welcome, travelers. We are the archivists. We see you carry representatives from multiple species. This is most interesting. Please dock at platform 779. We are eager to study you. Dr. Yoon Nari frowned. Study us? That doesn't sound very friendly. The archivists are not harmful, Vex explained. They collect knowledge, not weapons. But they can be intense about learning new things. When the crew docked at the library, they were met by 3 tall, thin aliens with pale blue skin and huge black eyes. Their heads were much larger than human heads, and they moved very slowly and carefully. I am Chief Archivist Quen, said the middle alien. We have been waiting for you since we detected your approach. You represent species not fully documented in our records. We're happy to share information about ourselves, Captain Deho replied politely. Excellent, Quen said, and his big eyes seemed to glow with excitement. Follow us. We have prepared individual study chambers for each species represented on your crew. The library was amazing inside. Endless halls stretched in every direction, filled with more books and data storage than existed on entire planets. Holographic displays showed information in hundreds of different alien languages. Kang Bora was fascinated by the language collection. You have communication records from species I've never heard of, she told the archivist who was assigned to study her. We have samples of over 50,000 languages, the archivist replied proudly, including 47 different ways that extinct species said goodbye. That's incredible, Bora said. But what do you do with all this knowledge? The archivist looked confused by the question. We preserve it, of course. We catalog it and store it safely so it will never be lost. But do you ever use it to solve problems or create new things? Create. The archivist seemed shocked. We do not create, we preserve. Creation is dangerous because new things might be wrong or imperfect. We only keep knowledge that has been proven to be true. Meanwhile, Kim Ji-won was having a similar conversation with her assigned archivist. You have scientific data from thousands of civilizations, she said. Have you ever combined different discoveries to make new inventions? That would be contamination, the archivist replied seriously. Each piece of knowledge must be kept pure and separate. Mixing different sources creates uncertainty. But uncertainty is how we learn new things, Ji-won protested. When we don't know the answer, we experiment and discover. The archivist looked horrified. Experiments might produce incorrect results. Incorrect results would corrupt our perfect records. Captain Daiho was getting frustrated with his own interview. The archivists asked thousands of questions about human behavior, but they seemed upset by every answer he gave. Humans make decisions with incomplete information, Chief Archivist Quen said, making notes on a data pad. This is illogical. How do you know your decisions are correct? We don't, Daiho replied honestly. Sometimes we make mistakes. But making a wrong decision is better than making no decision at all. But wrong decisions create wrong outcomes, Quen insisted. Wrong outcomes make imperfect records. Our database requires perfection. Nothing in the real world is perfect, Daiho said. That's what makes life interesting. Quen made more notes, muttering about dangerous human thought patterns. After 3 days of interviews, the crew was getting tired of being studied like laboratory specimens. The archivists had documented everything about them but seemed to think human behavior was a kind of mental illness. They have all the knowledge in the galaxy, Mira complained to Dr. Nari, but they're afraid to use any of it. It's like having a toolbox full of perfect tools that you never take out because you might get them dirty, Nari agreed. That quote S, when the crisis began, warning sirens started blaring throughout the library station. Emergency lights flashed in every chamber. Archivists ran around in panic, consulting their data pads and procedure manuals. What's happening? Daiho asked Chief Archivist Quen. Cascade system failure, Quen replied, his voice shaking. The power distribution network is collapsing. If we cannot stop it, the entire library will be destroyed. What do your emergency procedures say to do? That is the problem, Quen admitted. This type of failure is not in our emergency database. Our protocols do not account for this situation. We do not know how to respond to a problem we have never seen before. The human crew looked at each other. They had seen this before with other alien species. When unexpected problems arose, those who relied only on existing knowledge were helpless. Use the technical specifications, Mira said, rolling up her sleeves. You cannot help, Quen protested. You do not have the proper training. You might make the situation worse. We might, Daiho agreed. But doing nothing will definitely make it worse. Despite archivist protests, the human crew spread throughout the library to tackle the crisis. Mira began rerouting power systems using methods that were not in any manual. Choi Hyun coordinated evacuation procedures that combined techniques from multiple species. Dr. Nari set up medical stations using improvised supplies because she didn't have the correct archivist medical equipment. Bor established communication networks by mixing different alien communication technologies in ways that had never been tried before. Stop, Quen pleaded. You are contaminating our pure systems. You are mixing technologies that should not be combined. Your pure systems are failing, Kim Ji-won pointed out as she worked to stabilize a data storage core. Sometimes impure solutions are the only solutions that work. The archivists watched in amazement as the humans fixed problems by breaking rules, combined incompatible technologies, and made decisions without knowing all the facts. It went against everything the archivists believed about proper procedure. But it worked. After 12 hours of frantic repair work, the cascade failure was stopped. The library was saved, though some sections now used hybrid repair techniques that were not in any official manual. "You have corrupted our perfect systems," Quen said, but he sounded more amazed than angry. "We've made them more flexible," Mira replied. "Perfect systems break when they meet imperfect problems. Flexible systems adapt and survive." "But how do we catalog these new repair techniques?" Iman, another archivist, asked. "They are not in our database because they did not exist before today." "You could send some of your young people out into the galaxy," Dr. Nari suggested. "Let them see how different species actually use knowledge in the real world. Then they can come back and teach you what they learned." The idea terrified the older archivists, but some of the younger ones looked excited. "Knowledge that sits in a library is just information," Captain Deho explained. "Knowledge only becomes wisdom when you use it to solve real problems and help real people." Chief Archivist Quen was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "We have preserved the knowledge of 10,000 years, but we have learned nothing new in all that time. Perhaps it is time for the archivists to become students again." When the Ebony left the Infinite Library, it carried 3 young archivists who wanted to learn how knowledge was used in the real galaxy. Behind them, the library began its first major change in centuries, creating new sections dedicated to experimental research and practical applications. "Where did you learn to be so wise?" Vex asked Captain Deho as they traveled toward their next adventure. "From making lots of mistakes," Deho replied with a smile. "The best teachers are the problems you solve incorrectly the first time." Captain Lee Deho had never heard anything like it. The sound filled the bridge of the Ebony like music made of starlight. It was beautiful and strange, rising and falling in patterns that seemed to tell stories without words. "What is that sound?" asked Dr. Yoon Nari, looking amazed. "It's coming from that cloud formation ahead," Kim Ji-won reported from her science station. "But the readings don't make sense. The cloud is alive somehow." The strange music grew louder as they approached. It wasn't just one voice, but thousands of them, all singing together in perfect harmony. The melody was so beautiful that several crew members had tears in their eyes. "I am detecting intelligence within the formation," said one of the young archivists who had joined their crew. "But it is unlike any form of consciousness in our databases." Kangbora worked frantically at her communication station. "I think they're trying to talk to us, but not with words. The music patterns are carrying information." Suddenly the singing stopped. The silence felt empty and cold after the beautiful harmony dot. Then a new sound came through their speakers. It was harsh and discordant, like a musical instrument being played badly. The crew winced at the unpleasant noise. "Painful sound creatures," a voice said, speaking in perfect but emotionless English. "Your thoughts create discord. Your minds make ugly noise. Why do you disturb our harmony with your chaos?" Captain Deho looked around at his crew, then spoke carefully. "We are explorers from Earth. We did not mean to disturb you. We were attracted by your beautiful singing." "Singing?" The voice sounded confused. "We do not sing. We think." "All true. Intelligence thinks in harmony. Your species thinks in discord. This suggests mental illness." Park Mira frowned. "They can hear our thoughts?" "Not hear," the voice corrected. "We feel the vibrations of consciousness. Your crew creates 12 different thought patterns that clash with each other. This is painful for us to experience." Dr. Nari stepped forward. "We are 12 different individuals. We each have our own thoughts and feelings. Individual thoughts are a sign of damaged minds," the voice replied. "Healthy intelligence shares the same patterns. We are the resonance. We think as one, feel as one, exist as one. Your separation from each other shows that your species is broken." Vex, the young Corvani warrior, looked insulted. "Our differences make us strong. When we work together despite being different, we can solve any problem." "Impossible," the resonance voice said firmly. "Harmony requires unity. Discord creates failure. We will repair your damaged mind so you can join our perfect song." The cloud formation began to glow brighter, and the crew felt a strange pressure in their heads. The resonance was trying to force their thoughts into the same pattern. "Captain," Choi Hyun said through gritted teeth, They're trying to change how we think. I can feel them pushing at my mind. Stop, Deho ordered the alien cloud. We do not want our minds changed. We like being individuals. You cannot choose to remain sick, the resonance replied. We will cure you whether you want healing or not. The pressure in their heads grew stronger. Some of the crew members began to sway as their thoughts were pulled toward the same pattern. Dr. Nari had an idea. Bora, can you play human music through our communication system? What kind of music? Bora asked, fighting the mental pressure. Something with lots of different parts. Something that shows how beautiful discord can be when it works together, with harmony. Bora quickly accessed the ship's cultural database and began playing a complex human symphony. The music had many different instruments, each playing different melodies that wove together into something greater than any single part. The resonance recoiled from the music like it was being hurt. Terrible noise. How can you enjoy such chaos? It's not chaos, Dr. Nari explained. Each instrument plays its own part, but they all work together to create something beautiful. The differences between the parts are what makes the music interesting. But the parts do not match, the resonance protested. They argue with each other. And then they resolve their arguments, Kim Ji-won added, listening to the symphony. The violin plays one theme, the piano plays another, and then they find a way to play together. The tension makes the harmony more meaningful. The mental pressure stopped as the resonance tried to understand this concept. You claim that disagreement can create beauty? Watch us work, Captain Deho suggested. Don't try to change our minds. Just observe how we solve problems together despite our differences. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected a massive space storm heading directly for a resonance colony on a nearby planet. The storm was made of destructive energy that would kill millions of the collective consciousness beings. Our harmony shields cannot stop this storm, the resonance admitted, sounding afraid for the first time. The energy patterns are too chaotic. Our unified response cannot match something so random and violent. Then don't try to match it, Mira suggested. Fight chaos with controlled chaos. Impossible, the resonance said. Chaos cannot be controlled. Yes, it can, Choi Hyun said with confidence. That's what military tactics are about. You take unpredictable situations and use them to your advantage. The plan they developed was unlike anything the resonance had ever imagined. Instead of creating perfect harmony to oppose the storm, they would create deliberate discord that would interfere with the storm's destructive patterns. Each member of the human crew took control of different shield generators around the planet. Instead of working in unison, they each created different defensive patterns that clashed and interfered with each other. This is madness, the resonance said as they watched the humans work. Your shields are fighting against each other as much as they are fighting the storm. Exactly, Dr. Nari replied as she coordinated the medical evacuation efforts. We're creating interference patterns. The storm is chaotic, so we're being chaotic right back at it. The space storm hit the planet like a hurricane made of lightning. But instead of overwhelming the defenses, it met a wall of controlled chaos that matched its own energy. The human-designed shield network absorbed the storm's power by turning it against itself. Incredible, the resonance whispered as the storm passed harmlessly overhead. You used discord to create a stronger defense than our perfect harmony ever could. Discord and harmony aren't opposites, Captain Deho explained. They're partners. You need both to create something truly powerful. The resonance was quiet for a long time, processing this new idea. When they spoke again, their voice sounded different, less perfect but more alive. We have spent thousands of years pursuing perfect unity, they said. But perhaps perfect unity is like perfect silence, beautiful but empty. We wish to learn more about controlled discord. We call it cooperation, Dr. Nari said with a smile. Working together while still being ourselves. Will you teach us? The resonance asked. We could add some of your discord to our harmony. Not to become like you, but to become more than we are now. Over the following weeks, some members of the resonance began experimenting with individual thoughts while remaining connected to the collective. It was difficult and sometimes painful, but it also created new forms of beauty in their songs. Your music is getting more interesting, Bora told them as they prepared to leave. It has more emotion now. Emotion is a form of discord, the resonance replied. But we are learning that some discord makes the harmony more meaningful, just as you said. When the Ebony left the resonance space cloud, their communication system carried a gift, a new song that combined perfect harmony with deliberate discord, creating music unlike anything that had existed before. They're going to change their entire civilization, Vex observed, listening to the beautiful music. No, Captain Deho replied. They're going to grow their civilization. There's a difference between changing what you are and becoming more than you were. The young archivist who had joined their crew made notes about the encounter. I understand now why knowledge must be used and not just stored. The resonance had perfect knowledge of harmony, but they could not solve their problem until they learned about discord from you. Every species has something to teach, Kim Ji-won said, and something to learn. That's what makes traveling the galaxy so exciting. As they flew toward their next adventure, the crew could still hear the distant song of the resonance, no longer perfect, but infinitely more beautiful for its imperfections. Captain Lee Daeho watched the massive fleet of alien warships gather in the star system ahead. There were hundreds of vessels from dozens of different species, all armed and ready for battle. Their target was a group of strange organic ships that looked more like giant sea creatures than spacecraft. The entire galactic coalition is here, reported Choi Hyun from the security station. They're calling this the final hunt for the Devourers. The Devourers? Asked Dr. Yoon Nari. That's what they're calling those organic ships? Vex, the young Corvani warrior on their crew, nodded grimly. The Devourers are the most feared species in this part of the galaxy. They travel from system to system, consuming entire worlds before moving on. They have destroyed hundreds of planets. A communication came in from the Coalition fleet commander, a stern-voiced alien named Admiral Zek. Human vessel Ebony, you will join the battle formation and prepare to destroy the Devourer fleet. This is not a request. Captain Deho frowned. Admiral, we would like to attempt communication with the Devourers first. Perhaps this conflict can be resolved without violence. Communication is impossible, Admiral Zek replied harshly. The Devourers are parasites that exist only to consume and destroy. They cannot be reasoned with. They must be eliminated completely. Every intelligent species can be reasoned with, Kim Ji-won said firmly. We just need to understand what they want. What they want is to eat planets, one of the young archivists pointed out. The records are very clear about their destructive behavior. But something about the situation bothered Dr. Nari. If they're such terrible monsters, why aren't they attacking the fleet? Look at them. They're just sitting there. She was right. The organic ships were floating motionless in space, making no aggressive moves despite being surrounded by enemies. They looked almost like they were waiting for something. Maybe they're planning a trap, suggested Park Mira. Or maybe they're scared, Dr. Nari said softly. Against Admiral Zek's direct orders, Captain Deho decided to approach one of the organic ships. Bora, see if you can establish communication with them. Kang Bora worked at her station for several minutes. Captain, I'm getting a response, but it's very strange. It sounds like crying. The sound that came through their speakers was heartbreaking. It was the sound of beings in terrible pain and despair, calling out in a language that sounded like whale songs mixed with human sobbing. They're not threatening us, Dr. Nari said with tears in her eyes. They're begging us to help them. The translation program finally decoded part of the message. Please understand, we are not evil. We are dying. Our children starve. We search for home but cannot find it. Please help us find home. Admiral Zek's angry voice cut across their communication channel. Human ship, return to formation immediately. You are interfering with military operations. Admiral, Captain Deho replied. These beings are asking for help, not threatening us. They're refugees, not conquerors. Impossible. The Devourers have destroyed entire civilizations. Kim Ji-won had been studying the organic ships with her sensors. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures inside those vessels. But they're not weapons. They're life support systems. There are millions of beings inside each ship." "Millions?" Dr. Nari gasped. "They're carrying their entire population with them." Through careful translation work, Bora managed to establish better communication with the Devourers. Their story was tragic beyond imagination. The Devourers called themselves the Wanderers. Their original homeworld had been destroyed in a cosmic disaster centuries ago. Since then, they had been traveling through space in their living ships, desperately searching for a new world that could support their unique biology. "We do not wish to harm others," their leader explained through tears. "But our biology requires certain minerals and nutrients that exist only in planetary cores. When we take what we need to survive, the planets die." "Why didn't you ask for help?" Captain Daeho wanted to know. "We tried," the Wanderer leader replied. "But other species see only the dead worlds we leave behind. They do not see our starving children or our desperate need for home. They see only monsters." The communication was interrupted by Admiral Zek. "Enough of this nonsense. All ships prepare to fire. We end this threat today." Captain Daeho made a decision that shocked everyone, including his own crew. He moved the Ebony directly between the Coalition fleet and the Wanderer ships. "Captain," Choi Hyun said quietly, "there are 800 warships out there. They can destroy us in seconds." "Then let them," Daeho replied firmly. "I won't stand by and watch genocide happen, even if it costs us our lives." "Human ship!" Admiral Zek's voice was furious. "Move aside immediately or be destroyed along with the parasites." "These beings are not parasites," Dr. Nari broadcast to the entire fleet. "They're refugees. They're parents trying to keep their children alive. They're people who have been wandering homeless for centuries looking for a place to belong." Park Mira was working frantically at her engineering station. "Captain, I have an idea, but I need time to work out the details." "What kind of idea?" Daeho asked. "What if we could help them find worlds they could live on without destroying them? Dead worlds, planets that are already lifeless but have the minerals they need?" Kim Ji-won's eyes lit up. "There are thousands of dead worlds in this galaxy. Rocky planets with no atmosphere but rich mineral cores. And with the right technology they could extract what they need without harming anyone," Mira continued excitedly. "You're talking about terraforming in reverse," one of the archivists said thoughtfully. "Taking dead worlds and making them useful for species with unusual requirements." The Coalition fleet was growing impatient. Several ships moved into firing positions despite the Ebony's protective stance. "Last warning, human ship," Admiral Zek announced. "Move aside or be fired upon." "Wait," Captain Daeho broadcast to the entire fleet. "Give us 1 hour to present an alternative solution. If you don't like what we propose, you can still destroy them." 30 minutes, Admiral Zek grudgingly agreed. "Then we open fire." Working together at incredible speed, the crew of the Ebony and their alien friends developed a plan. Using archivist, knowledge of dead worlds, resonance harmony techniques for large-scale cooperation, and human engineering creativity, they designed a system that could help the Wanderers survive without destroying living planets. "There are over 3,000 dead worlds in this sector alone," Kim Ji-won reported. "Each one has enough mineral resources to feed a Wanderer population for decades. And we can set up extraction facilities that work with their biology instead of against it," Mira added. "They won't have to strip mine entire planets anymore." The Wanderer leader listened to the proposal with growing hope. "You would help us do this? Even though we are strangers who have caused so much destruction, everyone deserves a chance to live without hurting others," Dr. Nari replied simply. When they presented the plan to the Coalition fleet, the response was mixed. Some species were willing to help, but others wanted the Wanderers destroyed regardless. Admiral Zek himself was torn. "Even if this plan works, how do we know they won't go back to consuming living worlds?" "Because they'll have something they've never had before," Captain Daeho answered. "A home. When people have a place to belong, they don't need to wander around taking from others." The vote among the coalition species was close, but the plan was approved by a narrow margin. Several species volunteered to help set up the extraction facilities, while others agreed to provide the Wanderers with technical assistance. Over the following months, the first Wanderer colony was established on a dead world rich in the minerals they needed. For the first time in centuries, Wanderer children were born on solid ground instead of in the cramped living ships. "Thank you," the Wanderer leader told Captain Deho during the colony's dedication ceremony. "You looked at us and saw people instead of monsters. That made all the difference." Admiral Zek approached the human captain afterward. "I still think you took a foolish risk," he admitted. "But I'm glad you did. We almost committed genocide against refugees because we were too afraid to listen to their story." As the Ebony prepared to leave the new Wanderer colony, Dr. Nari looked out at the thriving settlement. "They're not the devourers anymore," she observed. "They're the builders now. Everyone can change when they're given the chance." "Captain," Deho replied, "the trick is being brave enough to offer that chance." Vex watched several other ships departing, coalition vessels that were now working together on terraforming projects instead of military campaigns. "You didn't just save the Wanderers," he told the captain. "You changed how the entire galaxy thinks about solving problems. That's what exploration is really about," Deho said with a smile. "Not just finding new places, but finding new ways to understand each other." Captain Lee Deho stood on the bridge of the Ebony, looking at the star charts that showed their route back to Earth. After months of exploration and adventure, it was time to go home. But something felt different about this return journey. "Captain," Kang Bora said from her communication station, "we're receiving messages from all across the galaxy. Dozens of species want to establish contact with Earth." "That sounds like good news," Dr. Yunari said hopefully. "It's not all good," Bora continued, looking worried. "Some of the messages are from species that want humans to stay away from their territory. They think we're too unpredictable and dangerous." Kim Jawan pulled up a galactic map on the main screen. "Look at this. Our journey has created a chain reaction across 3 star systems. Species that never talked to each other before are now working together on projects. The Velthians are sharing their database with the archivists," added one of the young archivists on their crew. "The Resonance is teaching harmony techniques to former enemies. The Wanderers are helping other refugee species find new homes." Vex, the Corvani warrior, smiled proudly. "The humans have changed the entire galactic political situation just by being themselves." But the pride they felt was mixed with worry. A priority message came through from the Galactic Council, the ancient organization that governed relationships between spacefaring civilizations. "Humans of the ship Ebony," the formal message began, "you are commanded to appear before the emergency council session on the neutral station Nexus Prime. The future of your species' participation in galactic affairs will be decided." Choi Hyun frowned as he read the details. "It says here that some council members want to declare humanity a dangerous influence that should be quarantined to Earth." "Quarantined?" Park Mira asked angrily. "We've helped every species we've met. We've solved problems and prevented wars. Why would they want to lock us away?" "Because we're different," Captain Deho said quietly, "and different can be scary even when it's helpful." The journey to Nexus Prime took 2 weeks. During that time, the crew prepared for what might be the most important meeting in human history. They gathered records of all their adventures and prepared to defend humanity's right to explore the galaxy. Nexus Prime was the most impressive structure any of them had ever seen. It was a massive space station built by hundreds of different species over thousands of years. Each section reflected the architecture and culture of its builders, creating a beautiful patchwork of galactic diversity. The emergency council session was held in the Great Assembly Chamber, a vast room that could hold representatives from every known spacefaring civilization. As the human crew entered, they saw familiar faces in the audience. Chief Archivist Quen was there, along with several young archivists who had learned to value practical knowledge over perfect theory. Representatives from the Resonance filled one section with their beautiful harmonic songs. Commander Vex's people, the Corvani, sat proudly in their restored world delegation. But there were also species that looked hostile. Admiral Zek sat with other military commanders who viewed human unpredictability as a threat to galactic order. Several species that preferred isolation sent representatives who wanted all contact with humans forbidden. The council chairman, an ancient being called the Eternal Judge, called the session to order. We are here to decide the fate of the species called humans. Some argue they should be welcomed as full galactic citizens. Others claim they are too dangerous to be allowed free travel among the stars. The first speaker was Admiral Zek. Humans. Ignore established protocols, he argued. They make decisions based on emotion rather than logic. They interfere in conflicts that are none of their business. They change ancient systems without permission. They are chaos agents who threaten galactic stability. Several other speakers agreed, listing complaints about human behavior that sounded terrible when taken out of context. Then Chief Archivist Quen rose to speak. The Admiral is correct, he said, surprising everyone. Humans do ignore established protocols. They saved my people's entire knowledge base by refusing to follow our safety procedures. Humans do make decisions based on emotion, added a resonance representative. Their emotional discord saved our colony when pure logic could not. Commander Vex stood next. Humans do interfere in conflicts that are none of their business. They saved my dying world when every other species had written us off as hopeless. One by one, representatives from species the humans had helped spoke about their experiences. Each speaker confirmed the accusations against humanity, but explained why those same traits had been beneficial. Yes, humans are unpredictable, said a wanderer leader. That unpredictability is what let them see us as refugees instead of monsters when everyone else wanted us dead. The tide of the debate was shifting, but the opposition was not finished. A representative from the Isolation Coalition spoke next. All of these stories prove our point, the alien said coldly. Humans cannot leave things alone. They interfere with natural processes. They prevent the weak from dying and the strong from ruling. They upset the natural order of the galaxy. What is the natural order? Captain Deho asked, speaking for the first time. The Isolation Coalition representative looked surprised by the question. The strong survive, the weak perish. Resources go to those who can take them. Conflicts are resolved by force. This has been the way of the galaxy for millions of years. And how has that worked out? Dr. Nari asked quietly. The chamber fell, silent. Everyone knew the answer. The galaxy was full of dead worlds, extinct species, and endless wars over resources. The natural order you describe, Kim Ji-won said thoughtfully, has produced countless tragedies. Maybe it's time for a new approach. Before the debate could continue, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed as automated defense systems activated. Ancient security protocols have been triggered, announced the station's computer. Unidentified hostile entities detected. All personnel must evacuate immediately. The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species ran for the exits, following their individual evacuation procedures. But the different procedures conflicted with each other, creating massive traffic jams in the corridors. The Velthians followed their rigid protocols and got stuck in doorways. The military species tried to take control, but couldn't coordinate with each other. The Isolation Coalition representatives refused to help anyone outside their own groups. In the middle of the chaos, Captain Daiho's voice cut through the noise. Everyone listen to me. We can get out of this safely if we work together. Why should we listen to you? Demanded Admiral Zek. Because, Choi Hyun replied as he began organizing security teams from different species, we're the only ones here who have experience solving problems we've never seen before. The human crew spread throughout the station, each taking charge of different aspects of the evacuation. Dr. Nari set up medical stations and began treating injured aliens regardless of which species they belonged to. Park Mira worked with technical teams from various civilizations to understand what had triggered the ancient defenses. The station's security system thinks we're an invading army, Mira reported over the communication system. It was programmed millions of years ago to defend against a threat that doesn't exist anymore. Can you shut it down? Asked the Eternal Judge, who was helping evacuate elderly representatives. Not using normal methods, Mira admitted. The system is too old and complex, but maybe we can confuse it instead of fighting it. Kim Ji-won understood immediately. If we make the station think the threat has passed, it might deactivate on its own. How do we do that? Vex asked as he helped guide panicking civilians to safety. By showing it what the ancient programmers never expected to see, Dr. Nari said with sudden inspiration. Cooperation between enemies. The plan was crazy, but it was the only chance they had. The human crew coordinated with representatives from every species in the station, including their harshest critics. Admiral Zek found himself working alongside wanderer refugees to repair damaged life support systems. Isolation Coalition representatives were forced to communicate with other species to coordinate escape routes. Even the most rigid Velthians had to improvise when their procedures failed. This is exactly the kind of chaos we were worried about, complained one council member as he helped carry wounded aliens to safety. This chaos is saving lives, Captain Deho replied, directing traffic at a major intersection. Sometimes you have to choose between perfect order and actually helping people. The ancient defense system monitored everything happening throughout the station. It had been programmed to recognize invasion patterns, armies fighting each other, species competing, for resources the strong dominating the weak. Instead, it saw something its creators had never imagined. It saw former enemies working together to save each other. It saw the strong helping the weak without asking for anything in return. It saw chaos that created cooperation instead of destruction. The system's logic circuits couldn't process what they were seeing. According to its programming, this behavior was impossible. If these beings could work together like this, they couldn't be the threat the system was designed to stop. One by one, the defense systems deactivated. The alarms stopped. The emergency lights were